Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, I said in my last video that Reform UK would be quite happy today at the news that they'd won another by-election in Wolverhampton for a council seat. And you'd like to think that they would be. However, they may not be as happy as perhaps you'd think. There seems to be a rift emerging within the party. And it's a rift that could easily have been avoided if it wasn't for bad timing, really. This week you had both Richard Tice and Nigel Farage both come out and attempt to distance themselves and the party from Tommy Robinson and his supporters at a time when about 300,000, last Saturday, 300,000 supporters turned up in London. You'd think, that'd be a lot of votes. That'd be something you'd be trying to cultivate. And you cannot say that every single one of those 300,000 people is an extremist or a racist or anything. Most of them, 99% of them, will just be normal people who just happen to be concerned about what's going on in their country. And so it seems very odd that you would rush to make these comments. Other people, however, within Reform, are refusing to throw Tommy Robinson and his supporters under the bus, as it were. And whilst the leadership, in the form of Tyson Farage, seem to be distancing themselves, others are thinking, maybe not so much. Maybe we should pay attention to what the people in this country are saying, because these people have got a lot of support. And you have to ask, why have they got that support? What's going on that support is there? And then try to encourage it and absorb it. Ben Habib, very senior in the party, he is a Tommy Robinson supporter. He actually is standing up for those who attended the rally. He said those who care about this country need to stand up against the uniparty of the Labour and Conservatives and Lib Dems. He says, but we are one group. He says, we are all, despite having different views, we're all heading in the same direction. And so he's trying to, I think, absorb the supporters of Tommy Robinson into Reform to say, look, come with us. Let's take away the extremism, because there are going to be some extremists, of course, a few, because every party gets extremists. He says, but if we can get the mainstream normal lot in, we can benefit from this, because this is a very strongly held opinion. And that's what he says. Now, Ben Habib says he doesn't know Tommy Robinson. He says that he's not going to venture any opinion on who he is, what he is, or anything like that. He says, but it's wrong just to castigate the man simply because he expressed an opinion for which the government did not like. He says, and whether you agree with Tommy Robinson or not, you must certainly live in a democratic society where freedom of expression must be accepted, and to lock people up for expressing their views is the act of a dictatorship. He says, and so rightfully his supporters are angry. He said, in the same way that if Nigel was locked up for expressing his opinions, people who support Reform would be righteously angry. And he said, and it carries this interesting balancing act between one side and the other. He said, but you cannot slag off the entire following of a man simply because you don't like the man particularly. And he's not slagging off or saying anything. He says he doesn't know. Now, of course, you have these two in the form of Farage and Tice standing up and going, oh, Tommy Robinson, blah, 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 and how bad he is and how wrong he is, and we don't accept him and all this. And of course, this was said, and then the following day, the news was released about the Southport child murdering terrorist. And it turns out that Tommy Robinson and his supporters and all those people who've been locked up were right. They were locked up for expressing the truth, an inconvenient truth as far as the government were concerned. And that's why the timing stinks. Quick, let's get Tommy Robinson locked up. Let's move the date of that hearing Let's try and hide it in the middle of the budget, and let's hope that everyone in this country is too stupid to notice. Only we're not. And so for Farage and Tice to come out and start slagging off Tommy Robinson, and then imagine the embarrassment they must be feeling now, knowing Tommy was right and everyone was right. And all those people saying it was a Muslim that killed these children, who then said, oh no, that's false news. He's an innocent little Welsh Christian boy. And that turned out to be bollocks. And that the Prime Minister knew. And he knew as he was telling the courts, lock these people up. Lock up my political prisoners. Lock up these people who are going against what I am saying. Lock up these people because they are dangerous for wanting to hear the truth. Because the truth is dangerous. Quick, get them away. Stick them in the gulag. We do not want and accept dissidents in this communist state. And that is where we're at. We are now living in a state where people who disagree with the government are locked up. Even though they were right. The facts were there. The government knew the facts and locked these people up claiming misinformation. And it's bollocks. Now, you've got these truths being released. You wonder now if either Tice or Farage will come out, apologise and say, actually, we got it wrong. We realise now that Tommy Robinson is not an extremist. He is a purveyor of the truth. And why is he being locked up in a prison with extremists, with terrorists, with murderers, with monsters? And his only crime was journalism. But it was anti-government journalism. And that was why he was so dangerous. Anti-government journalism. You cannot say anything against the government, the Politburo, the whole mechanism of state, because they are the one-party state, and they will come for you. It is 1984. Britain is now a communist Marxist state. Starmer spied. Starmer went to the USSR back when it still existed. He was educated there. He came back. He was on an MI5 watch list. He has absolute Marxist beliefs and somehow managed to hide them until he got to power. And boy, is he doing it. And it's no mistake that they're trying to screw over the farmers. I've said this before. Let's destroy the food production in this country to starve us into submission should we rise up against them. And that is why they've changed the rules on inheritance. Farmers used to inherit free. There was no nothing, because otherwise you would dissolute the farmland down. No, you keep the farms the same. They've changed that because they want the farms to break up and eventually all the farmers having to sell the land to pay the tax. And then they can't afford to farm. And then all the food comes in from abroad. They control the ports. They starve us into submission. That is the act of a communist party. That is the act of a party determined to bend the people to their political will. We've got to stop it. And I'm getting increasingly to the point now where I think we've got to take to the streets and we've actually got to grab them. We've got to pressure them in by mass movement on the streets. And I mean pitchforks and burning torches type progression. That's where it's going. Now, I'm not calling anyone to do it. I'm just saying that's the feeling I'm getting, that it's increasingly going to have to resort to a full-scale revolution to get these dangerous Marxist bastards out before they completely destroy everything in this country. Will Farage and Tice stand with us or stand against us? Tough choice. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. Bye.